Right, the first reaction of the Army Chief on India-China tour right here on India Today. Army Chief says, want to go back to the pre-2020 status quo. Army Chief elaborating on how trust needs to be built between the two nations now after years of the standoff. Have to be careful over buffer zones particularly, says the Army Chief. Must ensure buffer zones are not breached. Trying to restore trust. A clear message coming from the Army Chief, which on one hand, he does definitely sound relieved that the situation has bettered between the two nations after the agreement just yesterday on both nations deciding on patrolling arrangements. And now the Army Chief claiming that it's the buffer zones that they've got to be very careful of. Shivani, our correspondent, tracking those developments on the phone line with us. Shivani, tell us more on the Army Chief, particularly mentioning the buffer zones, saying hope the buffer zones are not breached. This is a point now that the two nations have to work on building trust. It's been, of course, 5 years since the standoff, and seems like the situation is now seeing a bit of improvement after yesterday's agreement, part of the BRICS.
Nabila, the Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi, he was addressing an event, and there in one of the questions answers he said that this is a big development indeed, and he wants to watch the Chinese army there, and the rebuilding of the trust is very important. You know, what we were speaking was the confidence building measures, and now he said that once the patrolling will start, we will be building trust back, and the buffer zones that have been created out there, they should not be breached. That would be the first phase, because when the announcement has been made by the MEA on the agreement of patrolling that will be resuming to the prior situation of June 2020, that's what the Army Chief has also said, that we also wanted that the patrolling and the situation normalizes and the status quo of April 2020 is reached. And now he sees a lot of hope after this development has come. He sees that on ground we will be watching the PLA closely, we'll be monitoring, and we'll be seeing that the buffer zones that have been created are not breached there. There's no creeping in these buffer zones. The patrolling is normal. So confidence building measures is the key. The trust is the key, and they are also prepared for any kind of situation out there, because, you know, we cannot take chances with the Chinese army. So the Army Chief out here has said that we will be watching and we'll be seeing the trust comes back and the buffer zones are respected mutually.
Now, speaking of the buffer zones, why is that very important, Shivani? If you could elaborate on what the buffer zones really symbolize and why the Army Chief is slightly apprehensive on that front.
Namila, see, when we talk about the friction points, there were several friction points after Galwan 2020 event, when there were tensions in these particular friction points, starting from the Galwan Valley itself, then the Pangong. So then we also know Gogra Hot Springs and the Depsang Plains and the Demchok. These were the most severe standoff points where the armies of both the countries had come quite close. When we talk of buffer zones are the areas which are left out by both the armies without any deployments, and they say that when mutually a certain buffer zone has been demarked, it should be respected by both the armies. So that means there should be a certain distance maintained between both the armies. There should be no eyeball to eyeball contact on those particular fronts. And when we talk of the confidence building measures and the patrolling to resume, that means neither the Chinese army will block Indian army from patrolling to the initial points where it was being done before the tensions had started after Galwan incident, and that will be done by the Indian army too. The initial points from where the BLA soldiers were patrolling will be allowed to do that by the Indian army too. So no blocking of patrolling to each other, maintaining the confidence building measures, and whatever the key consensus has been around the LAC has to be maintained and mutually respected. So that is very important, and we know, Nabila, that in past 4.5 years, Indian Army has certainly maintained a mirror deployment of the soldiers along the line of actual control to meet any kind of contingencies. But, you know, we've been also seeing several rounds of talks on the diplomatic as well as on the military levels. There have been 21 round of co-commander level talks and side by side. We've also seen WMCC meetings between India and China. And after this, a big decision has been made on the agreement of resuming the patrolling on either side along the line of actual control, and this will also start, and it will pave way in fact for disengagement from those points from where the disengagement had not taken place. That means Depsang Plains and Demchok, that have been the traditional friction points for India and China along the line of actual control. A lot of hope being seen here, but still the army is maintaining that it needs to be cautious along the line of actual control.